my funniness for the show.
Oh, okay. John, are you ready, Amy?
Super ready.
Okay, John Edit here. Hello, and welcome to Techlandia. How are you doing this fine Monday after tax day? I don't know if it's really Monday after tax day, but I paid my taxes this year. Thank you, government, for taking my salary because, you know, I make a lot as a teacher. So thank you for making me pay. State of Oregon. First time, David Terrio, I've paid state taxes in my life.
And how did it feel to finally support yourself, John?
I don't know. I didn't like it. It was a lot of money, but I was like, Nevada, if you go back, Nevada, Alaska, Texas, all those places, no state tax. It's pretty awesome.
Listen, we can't complain about taxes, all right? Taxes were in the New Testament of the Bible, all right? It's just supporting people.
Supporting people. Okay, I like it.
Just empathy and support. Yeah.
Okay, so all right, now I feel better about it. So I was supporting people, a lot of people. Hopefully they'll use my money really well. I am John Samuelson in Portland, Oregon. Over in the North Bay, we have the Administrator of the Year, and her name is...
You're a disaster, Amy Fadege. What up, everybody?
Holy cow, Amy Fadege. You must be racking in like all the benefits from Q Administrator of the Year, because it's like you've got big earrings, you've got headphones, it looks like.
I know.
You're gonna have
I have lip gloss. I know.
Yeah,
I'm big time in right now.
You're doing a little shopping at Stella and Dot, I think,
yeah,
are you?
so big that one of my teachers and I were just meeting up a little while ago, and I was like, I gotta go, I have Techlandia. And she's like, what's Techlandia? And I'm like, I hate you, I'm out of here.
I didn't even know what that store was you just mentioned.
I'm totally lost.
Stella and Dot? Are you serious?
No clue.
David, how do you not know Stella and Dot? Do you think I could just pull these sites just out of thin air? You must not work in an elementary school, because if you work in an elementary school, Stella and Dot,
that's
you know
right.
that stuff.
We'll help you later.
If it's not TJ Maxx and Ross, I don't know.
Oh.
That's right. You know you're old when you do your shopping at Walmart. Anyway, we're gonna kick it down.
Introduction.
There's your introduction. We're gonna kick it down to SoCal, and we have the person that keeps us all lean and mean, and his name is
David Terrio. Rhymes with stereo.
Rhymes with stereo. Sorry, Amy, I didn't give you applause this time.
Oh, whatever.
That's all right. It's just for closing Q keynote, fall Q keynote. David Terrio.
Yeah,
we have sound effects for.
And I just want to say that I am super geeked up about this chat because I don't get to hang out with Roberto nearly enough, and he's one of my heroes.
Oh, so fun.
Oh, look at that. I know, I wish I had like a little awe sound effect, but I don't think. All right, so anyway, so we're going to introduce our person, and Roberto, I have to admit, I was not following you on Twitter at all, so I corrected that wrong today, and I followed you. And so anyway, Roberto, I know where you're at, but why don't you tell us, and then after you're done introducing yourself and what you do, please give us an amusing anecdote about Bill Selleck.
Oh no! Okay.
Nothing is out of bounds for talking about Bill Selleck.
Well, first of all, you can call me Rob. That's kind of my a working name, my roundabout name. And where am I? I am currently, like at this moment, in San Jose, but I call San Diego home. I am spending the year here in the South Bay, finishing up a one-year gig. Next year, to be determined where that will be. We'll see.
Hire away.
You're going to take your talents elsewhere, huh, LeBron?
Want to come teach kindergarten at Pengrove Elementary?
Well, see, I come with a lot of complications.
I like it, Rob. I like a man with complications.
So, I don't see now. I've already lost.
Sorry,
you already lost. All right, so then you work with Bill Selleck at Bill Selleck School.
I did work.
Wait, you work at Bill's school?
I work at Hillbrook.
Have I met you?
Have you been there this year?
Yes.
And maybe. I don't know.
I would have remembered. So
Bill brings a lot of folks through.
Let's go with no.
Bill only introduces you to the important people, Rob. That's the so there you go.
Nielsen?
There we go. So,
oh, and you're thinking for an anecdote. Gosh, I don't know if it's hilarious. I don't know about funny, but I had lunch with Bill today, and sometimes I feel like lunching with him is lunching with the 3.5-year-old, where you have to introduce him to new foods and things like that. So
yeah, he's really particular about what your chef cooks for you guys at lunch.
Today's introduction was tahine. You know tahine?
Yeah.
So yes, Bill, check his Snapchat. You'll see his reaction to tahine from earlier today at lunchtime.
I do follow. I have Bill on Snapchat actually, so that's cool. I will look at that.
Bill?
So I should say I work with Bill and Bill's phone because Bill's phone is always right there, front and center.
Thank you. So Ashley Williams is a friend of mine. She's a TOSA in our district, and she'll like come to my school and she's like, "Oh, hey, Bill sent you some Snapchats today." Like through her, she's Snapchatting her videos about me with the zebra face on, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, this guy is a disaster." Love him, but what the heck?
Bill is dangerous with the Snapchat. If you're not following Bill on Snapchat, you should.
No, you know what, David? Not everyone has time for this. Okay, I'm sorry. Zebra faces of whatever. What are you doing at that? What are you doing there this year, Rob?
I was hired as a 1-year maternity leave sub for 5th and 6th grade English, and about 2 months in, I became. I was co-teaching 6th grade. That went away, and I took over a 7th grade pre-algebra class and an 8th grade algebra class. Wow. So I'm a little bit all over the place this year.
I like that. That's very dynamic of you to go from the combo language arts to team teaching to all of a sudden now I'm 7th and 8th grade math. That's pretty good. Good.
Well, and still 5th grade English. I still got the 5th grade English.
Wow. So, okay.
Yeah.
That's impressive range. I used to think I was cool because they could switch me on Labor Day. They'd be like, "You're teaching 4th grade." Then they'd be like, "No, you're the 5-6 combo." And I'd be like, "Boom, got it. No problem." Everybody else would be like, "They're going to switch me." I know they am. I'm like, "Just switch me. I got it. Don't worry. I got range. I got range, principal. I got range."
I was going to say that Rob is the Whitney Houston of teaching, but that's awesome.
Every
There's a lot of range. There's a lot of
gosh.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I like it.
Well, I was going to say, you know what? I like Roberto Greco. I think I was going to say that is the coolest name that we have had on Techlandia. I would say I love that name.
It makes me think of The Bachelor. And since you're from SoCal, you probably run into Roberto and Allie frequently. I had to guess.
I'm again lost here.
On that.
Oh, you're one of those educators. All right.
I guess
let's stick to the script.
You're like Scott Bedley with the pop culture references. They just go right over it. Scott Bedley's like, I don't know.
Roberto would be much more comfortable on The Amazing Race.
Well, when you come teach at Pengrove, you'll be so good at that because we do The Amazing Race as a staff every now and then.
Oh, fascinating. Yeah.
When I say every now and then, I mean, we did it once, but it was super fun.
So then it has to come again.
Yeah, so if you come, we'll do it again.
That's right. That's how she won Administrator of the Year, by the way. It was just The Amazing Race that she chose every year since the 1 year she grew it.
I can plan a badass staff meeting. Watch out.
All right. So, Roberto, I was looking over your notes, and so we usually give people 3 things to talk about. And I love the first item, like the leap before you look, because that's kind of my mantra, actually, when I look at it, is like, that's what people get mad at me for, because I just dive in and I'm like, I don't care, whatever, let's do this, you know? But then I looked at your links, and I'm like, okay, this looks really interesting. And then I read more about it, and I thought, okay, you're going to have to explain this one, because this, like, David Terrio could explain this, but John Samuelson, no way I can explain that. So go ahead and talk about the leap before you look.
Yeah, well, leap before you look is a great phrase, right? But it really is it's the title of an exhibit at the Hammer at UCLA about Black Mountain College. So I've been obsessed with Black Mountain College for a very long time now. I learned about it through a book called Maverick Colleges back in the early 90s, and have kind of dipped in and out of it over and over again over the years, learning about Black Mountain College and all that entailed. And I'll give a little description in a moment.
I was going to say.
So much so that I actually made the pilgrimage there. So it was a college that opened in 33, I believe, and closed in 57. So no longer exists as a college. And this is in North Carolina, outside of Asheville. And for a lot of people, it's associated with arts, although it was a liberal arts school. And arts was a core component of it. They kind of embodied the Dewey's ideas, learning by doing. And because of all the artists that came out of it, Joseph Albers taught there. Robert Rauschenberg was a student there. Ruth Asawa was a student there. John Cage and Merce Cunningham taught there. But then you also have Buckminster Fuller, who was there. The list goes on. And actually, this exhibit gives you the full spectrum of both the faculty members and the students who were at the college during that time. It's open till, I think, May 15th. So if you're in Southern California and you can get there, I totally recommend it. It's free, $3 parking on a weekend. It's like totally easy to do. Plan a couple hours at least if you really want to absorb it. And for me, it's kind of like the ideal, anyways, of a learning environment where disciplines were constantly crossed and mingled, and where people stretch themselves, and that democracy was the core of everything as well. So it's kind of governed by those who were there at any given moment. Really fascinating story, and it's a beautiful exhibit too, because it's got not only the artifacts and photographs and things like that of the time. They've done some performances there. There's some film running. There's sound in each of the galleries, kind of taking you back to that time and place. Just splendid. And if you can't do that, there's the catalog, which I recommend as well as a great coffee table book, great guide to the history of the place.
What's it called, the catalog?
Lead Before You Look.
No, oh, sorry. The coffee table book that you were mentioning.
It's the catalog for the exhibit, so it's Lead Before You Look. Same name.
Okay, yeah. Got it. Very cool.
Yeah, so,
wow.
One of the things I was thinking about is, so many people out there are, hot up on innovation, design thinking, inquiry, student-centered learning, things like that. And we really feel like it's a new movement. And when we look back, like sometimes I look back at this and I'm like, oh man, there's nothing new I'm doing. But then I get excited because it's like they've done the research for me, right? Like if you go back and journey back and you start looking at some of the things they've done, first of all, you come up with ideas you hadn't even thought of, but you're like, okay, well, what worked, what didn't work, what are the reflections? And it's just a really neat opportunity to kind of look back to help us move forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Be honest with you, I'm a little bit curious about the name Techlandia, because I don't know if there's a tech focus here or not. But I think one of the things that for me maybe coincides, if I'm understanding this notion of using the tools at hand, the materials at hand, if you will, that's precisely what was going on at Black Mountain College. It was low tech in a way. I mean, they weren't trying to be cutting edge. There's some amazing jewelry, for example, that came out of Annie Albers' studio, and some work she did with students, where they went to the hardware store and bought washers or corks or bobby pins from the the pharmacy and that sort of thing, and they made this just beautiful jewelry out of these common everyday objects. So there's something about like taking what's available at hand and putting it together, being resourceful, right? And I think on some level, tech can be that way, as long as you don't let it kind of drive things and you just use it as a way to enhance kind of the core notions of learning and education that for me, it's kind of the progressive ideals of Dewey, and then that's a good place to be, right? It's like, I don't know if I put in one of my other links. I don't even remember at this point. So I kind of
we don't remember either. We don't
trying to decide, but this notion of resourcefulness is really important too. Like that you can also recognize things that have gone out of fashion lately. I've been thinking a lot about the Kindle since about 2 weeks ago, when I happened to be in a sixth grade classroom, and it was reading time, and a bunch of the kids got out these Kindles, and like there was no mention of them, right? So like I don't even think about Kindles anymore. I never actually got into having one or whatever, but I think sometimes when technology is kind of like no longer flashy, it might be the best time to start using it as well.
Right.
It's cheap, it's kind of quiet, It serves a purpose really well. All the major flaws or kinks and things in that have been kind of ironed out, and it just does a job. I know that it's not necessarily got all the the attraction that maybe the latest, greatest, newest thing has, but there's something about like not having to worry about whether it works or not. That's pretty beautiful there too.
Yeah. So, I was going to tell you, Rob, so real quick. So when we started Techlandia a while back, we've been on for like 3 years. We used to give 3 apps, 3 Twitter people to follow, and then we would just kind of share 3 things. But now really what we've done is we've kind of completely gone away from that. And we'll mention technology if it's there. Like I'm a technology person, like teacher, whatever, on special assignment, which just means I go to Starbucks more often than other teachers. But we really have kind of gone completely away from that now. That's what I thought was interesting about when you started to put that stuff in there, because it was you talk about like the Black Mountain College, you're talking about like they just studied whatever they wanted, which I think is awesome. It was supposed to be more arts focused, which I thought was cool. And I'm like, why are we shying away from that? Like, that's how wasn't that in the articles I read? Like they could pursue whatever some of them pursued photography, and some of the photos looked really awesome. I mean, I could see Bill Selleck doing that, going to school and going, here, I'm going to do photography today. And then he would just be on Snapchat all day probably. But I think one of the things too that you say about that is, it's funny, is that my daughter was at IHOP and she pulled out her cell phone. And if you just looked at her on her cell phone the other day, the one that's kind of passing around trying to help me watch my kid, who of course did wake up, she was just reading her book. I mean, she was just reading stories. I mean, but if you sat there looking at her, you'd be like, oh, those darn kids unfocused on their, not focused on their IHOP, but they're focused on their technology. But she's just sitting there reading Wattpad, and I think that's awesome, because it's kind of gone away for her now. That her phone just kind of becomes, kind of like it does for me. That's the only way I can read is on my phone now. And it's sad, but that's the price I pay for having 4 children. And having them get up at all times during this. But yeah, I think that's so. David didn't go with you down to the exhibit last week then when you went?
I didn't know he was there, otherwise I would join.
Okay.
I was actually on my drive from San Diego to San Jose at the end of spring break.
Nice.
Common friend Matt Arguello was there. I met up with him. Had a good time.
I just
Great
want
morning,
to know,
Matt.
anytime you drive through LA or Orange County, let me know. Okay.
Yeah. Do you have family in San Diego, Rob?
My family is there. This has actually been kind of a rough year in that way. My wife and kids are in San Diego. So I'm up here spending a lot of time in video chats and such. Like more time than ever.
Yeah,
that's kind of the way Bill did it last year, right? Bill did it.
This is actually, maybe this is the Hillbrook thing, right?
Yeah, what is up with Hillbrook and that stuff? Go ahead, David.
So just speaking of Rob's family, I think it was 2, maybe 3 years ago, but at least 2 years ago, I met Rob at Ed Camp LA, and his daughter was there. And his daughter actually was in a session with us. We did a share fair. We all shared things that we thought were kind of cool that we wanted other people to know about. And I found out that Rob's daughter was unschooled. And so speaking about like inquiry and choice, I think a lot of people have heard of homeschooled, but not everybody has heard of unschooled.
Oh,
and
do tell.
If Rob could tell us a little bit about that. And then your son switched from unschooled into schooled, right? And maybe just a little bit of that whole, like, what happened there?
Sure.
Okay, I'm going to say, to start off real quick, that I'm not a fan of homeschool. So I'm excited to hear about unschooled.
Yeah, well, I mean, unschooling is kind of a subset of the homeschool movement, if you will. Term comes from John Holt. You might know him for How Children Fail, How Children Learn, those books and several others that he wrote. Yeah, basically when my kids were age to go to school, we talked about it, my wife and I, and we decided like we're going to they've been learning just fine. Like, let's just let them keep learning. I mean, obviously we read up on things and we didn't invent this notion on our own, but the idea was that, they'd learn to speak, they'd learn to walk, they'd learn to do so many things already without having direct instruction and all that. So why not like keep that going? And so that's what we started with. And, you know, as they got older, you know, they always had the chance to go to school. It was their choice. And sometimes they were kind of dabbled with the idea, but then it was like, I got to wake up early or whatever, you know, and it wasn't that important to go try. And to this day, my daughter still has not ever been enrolled in school. She's actually spent a lot of, she is 17.
Oh, crazy.
and
oh my God.
She's actually spent a lot of time in school, ironically. She's worked with an organization that does a lot of science education inside the public schools in our neighborhood. So she has worked with 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders in that way. She's a certified lifeguard. She's taught swimming and things like that. So it's not that as a family we're opposed to any sort of direct instruction.
Yeah.
But that, you know, ultimately, and this maybe gets back a little bit to Black Mountain College, you know, students chose to go there. One of the things about, you know, K through 12 school is it's compulsory. And so regardless of whether there's choices within, you know, the kids don't really make the choice to be there per se. Right. I mean, they could talk about it that way. And, but, you know, if they choose not to, that's not really an option. Anyway, and then on the other hand, my son, who's 15, last summer, he decided that he was ready to try school. And in his words, he said, you know, like people ask me all the time, why don't you go to school? And I've got my reasons and things like that. But I want to be able to speak about it in kind of from firsthand experience. So he enrolled in our local public school. He's finishing up his first year there.
How is that? I'm fascinated, actually. I'm gonna have a lot of questions later. Like,
yeah, I'm a little hesitant to speak too much about that, only because I feel like that's the story.
Gotcha.
I'm as far as has he been able to do school? I mean, if report cards are a notion of that, it's fine. He socially hasn't, you know, that hasn't been an issue. I mean, one of the things as a family is that, you know, if you choose not to go to school, you know, we made it really important we found it was really important for us to be out and about and involved with people. So it's not like this was, you know, the first time he'd ever encountered kids his age. They're both competitive swimmers, so they've been on swim teams and things like that.
Right.
And been, you know, close to kids who go to school for years and years. So
do you or your wife provide them like specific instruction on different things, or like what has that looked like over the years?
It has looked like, what do you want to do today? And sometimes there isn't much, and sometimes it's more involved. And I don't know. I think ultimately as parents, and I think this goes for actually, you know, a lot of what a lot of school kids go through is, you know, what is the model of learning you have? What are the models of learning you have in your life?
Right.
So like they see us reading all the time and talking with interesting people and going to ed camps. You know, that was Sophia's third conference. She'd been to Ed Camp LA that time. Actually, and then the year after that, David, you know, we were up there in what was it, the Windward School?
Oh yeah,
Windrush.
Right.
I always get them mixed up. But OCLA, Ed Camp OCLA, that was the year, the first California Ed Camp. I took up a bunch of 7th and 8th graders from the school I was at that time, that year. And but Sophia came along for that. And she and Enzo went to EduCon with me when we happened to be in Philadelphia one year as well. So so anyway, there's kind of this exposure to conversation about education, conversation about all sorts of different things.
Yeah, I wanted to go back to something where you talked about the educational experience we had as kids and the educational experience we responded to. And when I was a kid, we had a GATE program, like it was MGM, Mentally Gifted Minors. And I loved it. It was very open and free. We got to explore and try a lot.
You got to be in it. That was awesome.
MGM, boy. All right.
Yeah, that's what all the kids who weren't in it would say to me.
Yeah.
And so anyway, then my parents transferred me to a private Catholic school in the 6th grade. And then I went to a private Catholic high school, and I didn't get to experience any of that kind of environment. I really felt lost. It's funny. I felt lost when that unstructuredness was taken away, right? And And I read an article that you wrote, or a little blog post that you wrote, where you talked about your experience when you were in elementary school and your principal running like a little gifted program before school even started. And
yeah, I was just gonna. I've got a link here dialed up. I just popped it in there. Yeah, because it was called special class in my house. What's a special class?
And so, one, I wanted you to just talk a little bit about that and maybe how that's kind of informed who you are as a teacher. But the teachers who don't have that experience, how do we help a teacher who never had that experience value that experience?
Yeah. Well, I mean, first of all, when I think about my experience as a student, I think about certain moments. One being that special class where basically we went to school, I think it was about an hour early. And there was no more than a dozen of us. This was in 5th grade. And we just did all these different projects and things like that with the support of the vice principal. And he's the one who was kind of assigned that teacher role within the context of that class. And the ironic thing is, like, the kids who are struggling with the regulars, it's like all of us were doing fine with all the regular day stuff. In retrospect, the kids who could have probably used that environment more are the ones that are least likely to be exposed to it. And so when I started teaching homeroom in 5th grade homeroom years later, actually, and even before that, when I was teaching Spanish, the notion was like, how can I inject things like that into the classroom so that everybody can get it? There's also thinking about my 3rd grade teacher and the way that he ran things, the homeroom teacher, and kind of little snippets here and there. And so by the time I got to teaching 5th grade, we basically, had this pact, like, let's do all this stuff as quickly as we can, the stuff we're supposed to do, have to do, and then we can do these other things. Like, we can just decide what to do with the rest of the time. And it was this little agreement we had as a class to be as efficient as possible about the things that none of us were necessarily too excited about, so that we could make films and build things and kind of expand maybe on some of the projects that we were doing as part of the rest of the curriculum in some way, shape, or form. That's where it came from, really. And it came from having been through something like that as a kid. I don't know that I would have started kind of digging in those more progressive quarters of educational philosophy had I not as a child been exposed to those sorts of things. Because I was also, really privileged to be the sort of learner that could, game the system really well and dial in what a teacher wanted to know. And I got a lot of real positive feedback about things that I didn't have to work too hard for. Mm-hmm. I was in many ways kind of that classic gifted child where I didn't have, I at some points would start avoiding, I think, challenges because it might expose me for not being, the super smart kid that I was supposed to be. Right.
That's easier. Sometimes the challenge, is how lazy can I be and still get an A or whatever, that's kind of the games that I used to play. Like, how little can I do and still get away with getting pretty decent grades? Because I used to be in that too, David. We called it probe back in our day. It was probe in my school or whatever. But I don't know. I just think my parents make up. They always say I was reading when I was 3, and I'm like, I don't know if I believe you. I really don't. I think you're lying. But yeah, no, that's really interesting with that. So do you think that your son at some point would be game to come on? Maybe we could have your son and daughter on. We could talk about that.
Cool.
I'll ask.
Yeah,
man, his days are long now. Yeah. This is one of the things that he has learned is, he just doesn't have time for anything anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
that really sucks that we're teaching kids that. I'm sorry, and I try not to. My mom didn't let me say sucks or but growing up, so she would be really upset that I said that. But I guess I'm feeling a little bit frustrated, especially today. I spent a little bit of time at one of the junior highs in our district because, well, when my kids leave after 6th grade, I miss them like crazy. And one of my little buddies, Jacob, who's now in 7th grade, I took him a Subway sandwich and we just hung out at lunch today because I felt like he needed a little Fidegi love. And And he was like the best basketball player at our school last year. And I was like, hey, do you guys have a team here? Do you play? And he's like, yeah, I can't even try out because of my grades. And it was all because of like missed assignments and not doing his homework. And I'm like, this kid has 3 siblings and 2 of his cousins who now live with him. He has a ton of responsibility on his shoulder. His family is awesome. And he doesn't even have a chance to do the thing that he loves the most. And I just was like, it was like heartbreaking, right? And I'm like, why are we doing this? And this whole like notion of like, if you can play school, like you see kindergartners like playing school. And then you realize that you pretty much have to play school forever. If you know, it's so frustrating.
It is.
We don't know
if there's a solution for this. I'm trying to think of something we could say, but I don't know, David Terrio.
I know. Sorry to silence the crowd.
John Zebar says give him more homework, and then that'll cure him, right? I mean,
I say we blame the high school teachers, right?
Totally.
Listen, I tell people all the time, please do not prepare your students for high school by giving them homework. Like, you do not need to do that.
Yeah.
Trust me. You don't have to prepare kids for the suck, right? It's going to come, and don't prepare them for it because that just makes it horrible. We don't, there's bad things that happen to us all the time in life, and we don't prepare ourselves for those bad things. They just happen, and we try and get through them. So don't prepare.
I think that's a great point. Just doing a bad thing earlier doesn't make it less bad.
Yeah, right.
No, if anything, you're going to build resiliency. What's that young man's name again?
Jacob.
Amy? If Jacob can just have a little bit of time each day doing the things he loves, then when he's struggling in other places, he's going to have this like place of love, happiness, contentment. Why wouldn't we want to give him that to help him get through that other stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. It's such a bad thing. And then it's like, I feel like everybody's kind of do you feel like the end of April has been like super crabby month for teachers? Now this is from Rob. We have another podcast I do with my good friend Scott Bedley. I just thought I'd do that for Fideji, who likes to make fun of me for mentioning Scott Bedley.
Yeah, we've already talked about it tonight.
But I feel like people have been really grumpy lately. I feel like there have been people, and you talk about like your son doesn't have time. I feel like that's everybody I've talked to lately. It's like, oh, we've got this. Like I know that we're organizing a conference, and then we're also doing a student film festival showcase that we do every year. That's coming up like this month, and then it's like, I don't know. It just seems like crazy time. And then they're doing like today, even the teachers were mad, or they weren't mad, but they were just like, we got the innovation fair. They've got to get this done and whatever. And I'm like, okay, but it's Thursday. You've got time. I'll stay in here with you an extra hour. I don't know. I don't know what's going on with April, but April seems like it's been really grumpy.
Well, it's my birthday month, so I'm really offended that April's become the new May. I'm just going to put it out
April's
there.
become the new February is what it is.
No,
It makes me think that both Chaucer and T.S. Eliot must have been teachers because they said April was the cruelest month. So,
I mean, they could be right. I know. Well, we're going to the Pentatonics concert tomorrow for days because my daughter that was just behind me, her birthday's on Friday, the 29th.
Oh,
so
fun.
I won't be going. I'll be sitting with the boys, but the girls are all going to a Pentatonics concert. I hope
you have good weather. April showers bring me flowers.
Oh, it's been great weather here. All right, so Rob, I'm looking at her. So we should pick one of your other topics. Would you rather go to Literal Zone or would you rather go to summer camp?
Oh,
if you had to choose one.
I think we've kind of already talked a little bit about summer camp in the sense that, those classes are summer camp, right? Like the notion is like, to what extent can you make school? Can you make learning? Can you make professional development? Can you make anything summer camp where we're choosing the activities you want to be part of? You make the choice to be there and, very playful. There's no sort of grade assigned and that sort of thing. It's really just about good times with other people.
But you're learning.
But you're learning. Absolutely. Like you're taking all sorts of risks and trying new things. So on some level, we've kind of covered that. I mean, I think Black Mountain College for me sounds like, an pretty ultimate summer camp of sorts as well. So
it is. It sounds like a place I'd like to go. Okay. So when we talk about this, then we will put I will. I promise tonight. I pinky swear. Look, here's my pinky. I swear that
danger.
we will put all right. That is a big danger. We'll put all the links into our Adobe Slate, and then we'll pass that around afterwards. We'll have
tonight.
I can do it tonight. If I don't do it tonight, I don't get it done, Amy. Okay, that's my point.
Right. Okay.
So, anyways, all right. So why don't you go ahead? And I think this is a really interesting one too, because I was reading your. And you know what? I know that David talks about Pinboard all the time, right? Don't you? Right. And I know. I mean, to me, I was looking at yours. There were so many interesting links on there. It was really cool. It was kind of like, it was like the intellectual person scoop it, and I do scoop it, so because I'm not an intellectual person.
Scoop it real good.
Here. Look, here's this video of this right here. Here. Oh my gosh, here's Bill Murray. Whatever. So anyway, we'll put all these links in there. But I was looking at your. So the second thing you put up there was like, and I like I read through it, and I really like talking about like the literal zone. So go ahead and tell us your thoughts on that, because I think it's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's the space between. Well, the literal zone, or littoral. Be honest,
littoral.
I don't know how to pronounce it. Is like in the natural world, is that space, kind of between high tide and low tide, where sometimes it's covered with water, sometimes it isn't, and
it's like Fidesi. Really, basically, like sometimes he feels like a nut, and sometimes she doesn't.
Oh my gosh! Get out.
I think of it also as this liminal space, this place in between, and ultimately, where it's kind of, it belongs to no one per se, and it's where different worlds, different ideas, different types of people, different materials and so things kind of come together and interact in some way. And being from San Diego, I mean, this is one of the things I love about San Diego. I'm in border town, right? And for as much as it has this ugly wall there, it is a place where people, I mean, it is the most, if it's still the case, it's the most traveled border crossing in the world, I think. Anyway, so I like to inhabit places like that, both, the national border, but also I think in terms of the disciplines. I mean, I'm right now teaching math and English, and I like kind of pushing myself into places where I don't fit in, but hopefully nobody else does in a way. And I think it gets to the notion. Are you familiar with Jane Jacobs, the urban theorist? The life and death of the great American city, and she talked about like the beauty. She wrote this kind of from the perspective of Greenwich Village in New York City, and the beauty of the urban environment at that time was that this mixing of people of different professions, mixing of people of different classes and backgrounds and so on, and that's where ideas come from. Because if we segregate ourselves out by age, by class, by ethnicity, by religion, and those sorts of things, like new ideas don't come because you get in those echo chambers. And you see this online, right? When you talk about the filter bubbles and all that sort of thing as well. So as much as possible, I mean, I like to say that I seek out these sort of liminal spaces, these between spaces to kind of as richer places to kind of push me.
Right, because if I'm hanging out with a bunch of guys my age, all we're doing is talking about where to go get brunch.
I love brunch, Samuelson.
Trying to think of what David and I could go and get. I was like, yeah, if David and I are hanging out, we're just talking about where we're going to go get Sunday brunch. Holy cow!
Yakitori.
Oh yeah, yakitori.
One of the things I liked about what Rob just said is, you always hear that old metaphor trope about there is the frontiers people, the explorers, like the people in the covered wagons, that there's the settlers who come behind, right? And everybody always feels like, but it's kind of dangerous, right? Like going to this unexplored place, like, oh my gosh, what if something bad happens? But to think of it as a tidal place, right? Everybody loves going to the tide pools, and you're not really sure what's going to happen there, and it looks different at different times, and so to kind of explore these things and places that people haven't done, or you don't know anybody who's done this, right? There's no guide, right? And you go and you explore it and you get your hands wet and you're not sure. And yeah, it's a really cool place. I like that idea a lot.
It's almost like what when we were Scott Bedley and I. You can grow now for Daisy. So we did a session at the Q, and it was the first session I'd ever done at the Q. I really enjoyed doing the unconference because I like talking to people and I can kind of give just chat with them and get to know them a little bit. I really like the unconference. But so I go on. So Scott did this great one with Tim last year, and I was like, gosh, I'd really like to just present with you. So he throws me into this one this year where we tried to kind of do it like improv style. And we got the reviews back, Fidej. This is the conference where Fidej was crowned reigning administrator of the year, right? So then when we went there, we just got crushed in the reviews. Like we read them, and I haven't put up that episode of Grumpy Teachers, but we got absolutely crushed.
What, like in a negative way?
It was lame. It was an embarrassment. Like we got raped
on your unconference session.
Oh, no. This was on our real session. Like, it wasn't Q worthy. It was an embarrassment. And we really weren't trying to make an embarrassment of things. We were just tired of – I could stand up there for 50 minutes at a Q conference, and I could give you 5 tools and show you how kids use them in the classroom. But it's boring to me. And I don't know what it is. So we tried to do it kind of improv, like whose line is it anyway style. So we tried something that was a little bit different, and some people came up to us and said, I appreciate what you tried to do there afterwards, but they didn't obviously write the reviews because
I was going to say, weird. Reviews. So the people giving feedback are the negative ones. I've never heard of that before.
They killed us. I said, thanks, Scott, for putting me in on I'm glad I got your off year for presenting. But I mean, we really just were trying something different. And sometimes
I wish I was there because I would tell you if it was bad.
Right. I wanted people to tell us if it was bad, and you could tell by the people that were leaving. But I mean, I don't know. It was just interesting. People left in droves.
What were you doing? I need to know.
We were trying to do like whose line is it anyway, and then like we were like.
Were you just not funny?
Well, some people put down that it was awesome. There were 2 people. One said it was awesome, and one said it was really funny and made their Friday after. But let's be real. It was Friday at 3:30 after.
Yeah, everyone was at the pool.
Nobody cares at that point. So we tried. We were like, we're going to try something different. And then people were like, people just want like tools spoon fed to them. Yeah. So we try. I mean, it was kind of like what you're talking about. We were trying to do something different and see if we could get away with it a little bit, and it didn't work.
You and Dudley could you probably weren't even able to concentrate because you were picking Cash Money and me up at the airport like in 3 hours. So
that's right. That was right before we had to pick up you and Cash Money at the airport anyway.
We were probably making sure our water bottles were going to be ready. There was going to be enough.
We did have water bottles in your Uber. Yeah, we had your Pliny the Elder ready for you. Oh
my gosh, mwah, you too.
See, amazing. We had it. So anyway, Bill Selleck would appreciate that we had the Pliny the Elder for you. So anyway, but so that, I mean, we tried, but I was like, afterwards from that, I was kind of like, I don't know. I think I don't want to do ed tech conferences anymore for a while. I think I would just like to do learning conferences. Like there was that one day, Rob, did you hear about the deeper learning conference? Because that was down in San Diego. Have you heard of that one? Because I know that Ruben Hoffman went to that one.
Was it this year?
It was right after Q this year.
Yeah, I've been kind of off the San Diego map of those things this year. Probably better not knowing other things you find out the thing you missed.
Yeah.
Right. No, right. If you're going down there, you're going to visit your family, obviously. But right. So I was just thinking, like, I saw somebody go into the NCTM for, which is the math conference. I was like, I should just start going to those conferences a little bit more and just seeing what's going on. Yeah.
Just do it, Scott. Scott doesn't go to teacher conferences all the time. Sometimes he'll go to like a medical doctor conference or a lawyer conference. No, I'm totally serious. And
I know.
He'll be there and they're like, well, what law firm are you with? He's like, oh, I'm just I'm a teacher. And they're like, what? And then, but he says he learns interesting things. And so I think we should start crashing non-teacher conferences.
I love that idea.
Well, yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
I think, I had this idea. At one point, ISTE was in San Diego in 2012, and
yes, it was.
I didn't go. I don't think I'm not very good with the big conference thing. That's just not for me. Mm-hmm. That was when I was leaving my last school, and we were getting ready for a road trip. So I really didn't have a chance to pull it off. But what I wanted to do is I had kind of conceptualized this notion of the ISTE fringe, which was basically you show up, you don't even pay for ISTE, and you're just kind of like there on the outside. You're meeting up at different places around the city, exploring the place, and doing a lot of walking and talking. Those conversations where you don't really have to be looking at anything else, and you have the sort of changing scenery to prompt all kinds of unexpected conversations and things like that. Let's see, there was Ed Camp IS, the Independent School Ed Camp, up here after the NAIS conference. And in the end, I didn't go. Matt Arguello had been up here, and we took this epic 14-mile walk through San Francisco in the end. And no regrets, right? Like, how can you do that, right?
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
14-mile walk. That's serious.
Yeah.
You could have walked.
We were talking to walking.
They can almost reach the North Bay with that one.
I know. It makes me think of my walk around with Kurt Reese and Sidewalk Magic. Goodness, all sorts of fun in San Francisco.
Oh my goodness, that's great. Well, go ahead, David.
Go ahead, John.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, the other thing it does is if we go to like a conference with lawyers or doctors or business people, that it shows them who teachers are and that we're serious about learning and about taking ourselves outside. And imagine the conversations that they would have with their fellow, business people, et cetera. Like, oh my gosh, I was just in with a teacher. Yeah, this to say, that to say. Like, that might have been even how Scott got some of his Microsoft connections and ended up in that commercial. So just saying.
Whoa,
he's just chasing the fame,
Yeah.
He's a member of the A team. Yeah, if there's one thing I can say about Scott Bedley, he's definitely not chasing the fame. That's for sure.
You
know what I'm saying?
That's why I can say it.
Be careful, Amy. He's sensitive. Okay,
He is sensitive.
He'll listen back.
It's not real.
Tell him you really like him.
I'm Bedley. I love you. I'm just joking.
Okay, there we go.
Just
I know,
joking, buddy.
That's why he wouldn't pick you up in the Uber anyway. I know. I think that what Rob said about taking kids to the ed camp too, though, I think that there's something to be said. I think ed camps are good, but I mean, I feel like if more teachers would bring some kids, I think even just teachers that are kind of on like, this is my first ed camp, but then they go, okay, I'm going to talk to these kids and just talk to them like real people on a Saturday, which they're obviously there, so they're serious. Just talk to them a little bit and be like, okay, what do you need from me? Like, what do you need from me? How can I help you? What I find kids need, and this is hard for teachers to let go of, is just like, they just need little basic directions. This is what we're going to do. Now start working on your project, and I will help you as questions come up. I don't need to answer every single question about this tech tool and show you 500 different ways. Like even today when we were working, I was just like, I looked at one of the girls and I just said, oh, I'm like, you'll need to look harder for that. I'm like, you'll need to try a little bit more than just one push on something. I'm like, live it up a little bit. Bang on the Chromebooks. I said, they won't break. Don't worry about it, So anyway. Well, Rob, it is really good to talk to you, and it's good to meet you. I hope that we get to meet up sometime. I'm coming down to San Jose area on Friday. I'm going to Raspberry Pi Academy.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. So
what is that? There's an academy for that?
Yes, Amy, there's a Raspberry Pi Academy. Don't make fun of me.
Okay, you're going to be so close to Pengrove. That's so messed up. You're not even coming by.
But I'm seriously flying in Friday night, and then it's all day Saturday, all day Sunday, and then I'm flying out. So the only night I got is Saturday night.
That sounds like excuses to
I
me.
figured, no, I'm
game.
I'm game to go out. You got to go out with me and Brian Briggs, though, because that's my roommate.
Wait. Where's Brian going to be? At the same thing?
Yeah, he's in my hotel. We're splitting a hotel room. It's right by San Jose.
Oh my gosh! I love Brian. What the heck?
Well, if you want to come down, we're at. I'll tell you what hotel we're at.
There's a nonprofit event that I'm helping with from 4 to 7 on Saturday. It's just not going to work.
See, that's what I'm saying.
Meet halfway in San Francisco.
That's right. We can meet.
We can take a 14-mile walk.
That's right.
Oh my gosh! I love this Rob guy. He's just making social plans for us.
I know. I'll do it. I'll walk. I would walk 500 miles. You know what?
Oh my gosh.
And on that note, that's a good note to leave on right there. Good segue there. Well, thanks, Rob, for being here, and keep us apprised of your situation. Do you want us to? Would you like? There are at least 50 people that listen to this podcast. Maybe one of them is an administrator. Are you looking for any job in particular next year that you would like to get besides Amy, who's graciously offered you a kindergarten job, which I can't
I know.
Right.
I am looking for the right school, ultimately. And I mean, like I say, it's complicated.
One of those.
I'm one of these people also without any papers. So as far as credentialing is concerned, so I've been in independent schools my whole career. But so awesome. That makes it a smaller list in the end as well. So.
Okay, we're getting to a place in California where that's becoming a little more wanted, right? Like, there's schools that are able to twist and turn for the right teacher. Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't know why schools are so like, when I worked at the startup for the year, like I was on the job interview, I went probably dressed like this. I never knew I was on an interview. I just went to go talk to them. They sat there and just, talked to me for 3 hours. I thought I was just kind of talking with them. Like, okay, would you like a job? I was like, well, that was what this was? I thought we were just, talking turkey, I don't know. So I don't know. And they never asked for a resume. Turkey. Yeah, they never asked for a resume or anything. I got a huge boost over my teaching salary. I got a much better job. So I don't know why schools are lagging behind with that stuff, Mm-hmm. I don't know. But anyway.
Well, it's not all in their control. I'm not passing judgment. I'm just, but that's the reality.
Yeah, it's the man.
So, and I've gotten kind of stubborn about collecting those papers at this point.
I think it's cool that it's like all about the right fit for you too. That's what, I talk about that a lot with teachers and principals, but it still sucks to be, sorry, I'm really bad with the S word tonight. It's still hard to hear no for something that you want. Right. But I think like that perfect fit is a huge piece of just everyone finding happiness and passion in what they do and not being cranky in April, which is our goal for the rest of the week.
Oh, God! No! God, please, no! No!
Samuel.
So that way you don't end up like Michael Scott there.
Right?
So anyway, I totally agree with you, though. I know what you're saying. Like if they dissolved my job right now, which is a cushy gig at the district office, if they dissolved my job right now, I'm totally comfortable going in and teaching, but I'm with you, Rob. I have to find the right administrator or else it's not going to work for me. Like I'm like that too. I'm totally picky. I'm a good teacher. You're going to have to recruit me. Right. I know it's too bad. I'm going to close on a house May 12th up here in Portland. So
you're in the Portland area, right?
Yes, I am.
So have you gone down to Newburgh and met up with Luke Neff?
Oh, sure. I know Luke. Yeah, we're on Slack with Luke. I'm on Slack with Luke. I can say that. But yeah, I go down to Newburgh because they have a good drive-in down there. But I haven't really hooked. He lives right by the drive-in. I need to hook up. Luke Neff on the Twitters. He's LukeNeff, and John Spencer is teaching down there. And I know that John Spencer and Luke Neff are like good buddies. What's up, Spencer Money?
That's right.
All right. Well, thanks for listening to Techlandia. Fidej, how are we doing the outro?
Well, I just feel like we need to leave everyone with check yourself on the me's and the I's and all that, and keep the focus on the kids for the love of God. Help us all for the next 6 to 10 weeks. Keep yourselves in check, people.
Okay, let's hold it together, people. And if you have problems, you need to follow Peggy George, and she will help you through these trying times with DMs and other personal anecdotes, right, Peggy? Peggy will totally. Yep, there she is. Peggy will help you out. So anyway,
love you, Peg.
Thanks to everybody for listening, and we will catch you on the
flip side.